It's the same as before. Here we go. Something is changing.
Okay.
No, that's recording. So are you, what does it say? Is it allowing you to present it? There may be something about the settings that, let me see if there's something.
It would be a pity if I cannot present what I've prepared.
So if you said you just have one slide, we can also present for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to send it to you, Aaron, okay?
Yeah.
So, can you send me your email address, please?
Yeah, I'll send it to you in the chat window.
The chat window.
Or you can.
It's the first time I use this tool, so I'm pleased.
Okay,
yeah, now I found it. Actually, it's a very nice tool. Yeah, it's. I think it's easier than anything else, right?
I find it the best one.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I'm going to send it to you immediately.
Sure, and then I'll present for you.
Thank you so much. Give me a second, please. Here you go.
Okay. Let me have
I hope you.
Just waiting for it to arrive. Got it. Which tool do you normally use? Which are you using Zoom or which?
Yeah, usually we use Zoom or Teams, Microsoft Teams, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Skype, if it's not something very professional. You know.
It's amazing how Skype lost the entire market.
Yeah, but you know, in Germany they don't allow anything but Skype. I think because of security issues. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have my screen on yet?
I haven't received the email yet.
Oh, okay.
Still waiting.
It is out. So is anybody else joining or are we?
So what I can do is, I think we can get started. People may be joining as we go.
Okay.
So let me, okay, so hi everyone, thanks for joining. So Ghada, I think we'll end up with about, in the range of about 20 people. People will keep coming on. So hello everyone, thanks for joining. I'm happy to introduce and to say that Ghada is willing to speak to us a little bit about her journey and what she's experienced over the years. So Ghada, I got to know Ghada through an organization that I was working with called the Next Einstein Forum, and she was nominated as one of Africa's top young scientists, so young scientists under the age of 42 at the time, and she's working in the Department of Chemistry. I believe she's leading the Department of Chemistry at one of the main universities in Egypt, at Ain Shams University. And she wanted to talk today a little bit about her experiences. And she had actually reached out in the, I think, May or June timeframe and looking to help through mentoring different students. And so she's here today just to talk about her experiences, and I hope it's a very interactive session. So I'm not going to say more than that. I'll hand over to Ghada. As soon as I'm able to present, I will project your slide on screen. So over to you.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Aaron, for this very nice introduction. And I would like to welcome all the participants to this session. I'm actually very pleased to be with you today and to share a little bit of my journey. I'm currently 46 years old. I'm Egyptian, and you can see I'm female. So there are so many challenges that I faced throughout my journey. So I would like to share some of these with you, and I hope that you just keep on asking things if things are not clear to you, or if questions pops up. I just want it to be a very informal session, so please feel free to interrupt and just ask some questions if you'd like. So I don't know, Aaron, do you have my first slide on?
I still don't have your email, actually. Do you want to send it again? So I know how annoying it is.
Okay. Well, okay, just
I'll send
to
it in the
say,
LinkedIn window. I'll send it my email address again in the LinkedIn window in case it makes a difference.
okay, I'm not sure.
I'll send you another one. Maybe it's... Sorry.
I'm so sorry that because of this tool, I'm
No,
so
no, it's
sorry.
fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not allowed to share, you know?
It could be. I mean, normally I think everyone is allowed to present, but...
Maybe it's just the settings.
Here we go. Okay, now it just came.
Okay, good.
So I will download and then I'll present.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Are there any animations or can I turn it into...
No, just very normal. The first slide is just static.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Okay, it's coming up now. Window.
Oh, so we have some chemists around, I see. Wonderful. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Erwin. It looks a little bit different than my actual slide, but nevertheless, everything I think is there. You can see. I graduated from the German school here in Cairo because my parents did their PhD in Germany. So I grew up a little bit in Germany. And then I joined here the German school, and I graduated in 1992. And then I joined the faculty of science at Ain Shams University, and I graduated from the chemistry department in 1996. And later on, I got married and I gave birth to my first daughter. You can see my daughter now because she's in 1997, so she's 22 years old currently, and she will be turning 23 by December. So you can see I'm an old woman, but nevertheless, in 1997, I joined the chemistry department of the Technical University of Munich in Germany. And I took my very little child with me. She was just like 4 months old when I joined the Technical University of Munich. And I got my MSc in 2000, the year 2000. And then I was doing the best I could to get a PhD position, which I was able to get and just immediately after. And in 2004, I got my PhD in organometallic chemistry from the Technical University of Munich in Germany. I came back to Egypt at that time, and I was like, yeah, I made it. Finally I could do this, proving myself to the Germans that I'm just as equivalent as they are. And but then here in Egypt, they said, okay, organometallic chemistry is such a sophisticated science that we are not really we don't think it's too important to us. So please go and do something that it's useful to our society. I got very disappointed, and in 2005 I went back to the Technical University of Munich, and but this time as a postdoc in the construction field. So I learned everything about cement additives, polymers, and so on, which was a completely different field than the organometallic chemistry part, what I did in my master's and PhD. But nevertheless, I could prove myself. I did it well. And during that time, we had some visitors coming from the Petroleum Institute in Abu Dhabi, which is currently the Khalifa University because they renamed a couple of years ago. And so at that time, the Petroleum Institute was just starting up, and they were looking for faculty members. And they asked me immediately on the spot, would you like to join us and have like a seed money and do some work there? But at this time I said, okay, my field is organometallics, and then in construction, how can I be useful to a petroleum institute? So but nevertheless, I took up this opportunity and said, okay, why not? Just try out. And I started to learn everything about petroleum chemistry. And it was a really tough thing, but every time I discovered new things, and you believe it or not, it's just I discovered that science is all related, that everything I learned in the basic sciences or fundamentals in organometallics I could use for construction materials, and then I could even use more into petroleum chemistry. People are just using different terminology, but chemistry is the same. So it was really very interesting to me to implement things that I learned from each one of these fields into the Petroleum Institute. And then I learned also about water chemistry and how I could do water treatment in a place like Abu Dhabi or the Emirates in general, where they do not have clean water. And so I learned so many different things during my journey. And then when the revolution happened in 2011, I wanted to come and build up the country. I was listening to the voices saying, well, we are calling out to the scientists abroad, please come back and help build up the country. So I resigned from the Petroleum Institute. Everybody was telling me, oh, you're crazy, you're just going to this part of the world where everything is so risky. I said, yeah, this is my home. I have to give back what my country taught me all the way through. They were supportive all the time, you know, and I have to go back into my country to give something to my community and to teach my students and so on what I have learned during my journey. So I joined again the faculty of, in this time, Faculty of Engineering at the Chemist University and at the chemistry department. And I was appointed as an associate professor at that time, and I became the head of the department. I started to, build up student chapters and student clubs just to develop soft skills of the students there and give them some hope in this tunnel where they had the feeling that there was no light. During this revolution time, everything was so, you couldn't even see where this is leading us to. But then I could help some students out and form these clubs and these soft skill development academies, if you want to name it like this. And I joined also the British University in Egypt at that time, and they collaborated on different schemes. I then started to coordinate the collaboration between Egypt and Germany on different scale at the Ministry of Scientific Research and Higher Education, and so on and so forth. And doing all this, I gave birth. God blessed me with a second daughter in 2013, Lara, and you can also see her on this slide. And the difference was like 15 years between both daughters, but it was just for the sake of the career, and I was too involved in so many chemistry issues that I almost forgot about giving birth to children. And so I was blessed in 2013 with a second daughter, and now she's 7 years old and visiting the German school here in Cairo, and is going to the second school year. But at the same time, I'm doing so many different things. So maybe, Aaron, you can show the second slide, please. Aaron?
Yeah, is it not showing the second slide?
I'm not sure. Is it showing that?
Oh,
yeah, it's showing. Yeah, okay. Thank you. So the second slide is telling you just what I'm doing right now. I'm the professor and the head of the chemistry division at the Faculty of Engineering and Chemist University. I'm also the project manager of the energy efficiency in Egyptian universities of the Supreme Council of Universities here. And I'm coordinating the Egypt-Germany, Egypt-Italy, and Egypt-Japan collaborations at the Science and Technology Development Fund at the Ministry of Scientific Research and Higher Education in Egypt. And what the networks I could build throughout all these years, where like I was a Fulbright fellow, I visited the University of Maryland, spent some time there. I became in 2016 the next Einstein Forum fellow, and then I became also in the same year the Lindau, Alpbach, and Berlin, which is called the LAB fellow of the three organizations of the Lindau Nobel laureate meetings, the European Forum Alpbach, and the Falling Walls in Berlin. And I'm a member and the former lead of the Women in Science Working Group of the Global Young Academy. And I'm also a bureau member of the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, IUPAC. So some of you might know the IUPAC as there are some chemists or some scientists. And this was just in brief what I have done all my life and what I'm really fond of. So I really hope to receive some questions of yours. And as you can see, it is doable as a female African scientist to do lots of things at the same time, with some, of course, help of my husband and my family and my mother, the community, the whole community, of course. So please feel free to ask any questions, and thank you for listening.
All right, thanks, Ghada. I think Prosper is going to moderate the questions, but just, wow, it's great to see all the stuff you've done. Should I keep the presentation up, or can I take it down?
Oh, no, not necessarily. No, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ghada. I think I was just soaking in all that you shared about your journey. And first of all, I'd like to ask, what actually led you into venturing into chemistry? I know you talked about your parents also starting a career and then one of them becoming a professor. What pushed you into pursuing a career in chemistry for the start?
This is a very tricky question, because I'd rather prefer not to say the truth about this. Well, it was just a coincidence if I tell you the truth. I was very good in school, okay, and when you have good students, you can feel that they are very, I was at least not very sure, because I was actually good in all the subjects, you know. So I was not sure, should I do, because I liked the German language a lot, so I wanted to go to literature. And when I became, we had like in the 11th and 12th grade, we had philosophy, so I wanted to become a philosopher. And, you know, so I was really fond of every subject I had, and I was not sure at all. But then after I graduated and I started to apply for the schools, and my father is a professor of was a professor. Yeah, he passed away, unfortunately. He was a professor of commerce and the Faculty of Commerce, so he was in business school, and he told me, you know what, this country needs scientists. This country needs lots of you to build up this country. So I told him, well, Dad, okay, I'm going to try out. And my very first day at the college, I met very nice people, and we encouraged ourselves to continue on this. And then the first lecture was by my very dear professor. He also unfortunately passed away, Professor Tawfiq Omar, and he was such a marvelous guy. He was you know, he had this this way to capture our attention the very first moment we came into class. And I said to myself, okay, wow, I tried it out, and it just, you know, it is the thing I would like to do, because people around you are good, the teachers are good. And myself, I believe that there is nothing called a bad subject. There are only bad teachers. So if your teacher is good enough to convince you that this subject he is teaching is worth listening to, then definitely you will find time and find your pleasure to learn this subject. And it was just chemistry. So, you know, I continued, and now I'm a professor of chemistry.
Yeah, this is very profound. I think for me, like you rightly said, there's nothing about a bad subjects about the teachers, whoever taught them. And for my personal experience, there were certain courses that I took back in uni, C++ programming, where some of the lectures weren't showing up to help you understand. And they're good. Now they're very relevant. So I would just open up for questions now. I can see some of our learners showing interest. So I would call Lawal. If you're ready, just unmute your microphone and then speak. Ask your question in brief.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me, everyone?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's really nice and sorry to have her around today. I mean, when I say take Chemist around, I mean I'm a little biased and I just have to be here. So well, the whole discussion you had and the session has been really inspiring for me, and it has strongly served as as a point that okay, my dreams are valid, and no matter the obstacles, anything I put my mind to do, I mean I can achieve it. I mean, so the first question I would like is, I mean, I understand that the world there are so many inequalities, and the fact that you did your PhD in the early 21st centuries, what are the challenges you faced? I mean, being a woman in STEM, I mean, it's not something easy, because you mentioned something like you had a hard time getting a PhD position. I mean, you said it so briefly. I mean, it's more than that. I mean, maybe because of time. So, what are the specific problems you faced as a woman trying to get herself recognized in chemistry, STEM? So that's the first question I have. And also, what's the advice you give a graduate student hoping to start their PhD? Let's just assume they've gotten the opportunity, they want to start. What are the set of advice you give them? And lastly, and well, Aaron mentioned that you were you're open to mentoring some students. So I'd like to request, if you don't mind, I'd like to be my mentor. I'm a chemistry student. Yeah, so, and I hope to follow the path. Yeah, so that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope to capture all your very big questions, because I forgot to tell you during all my enthusiasm here that I'm actually doing a second PhD right now. So I'm also a PhD student. So after becoming a professor of chemistry, I decided to go into engineering. So I'm now doing my PhD in chemical engineering. And why so? Because I'm at the Faculty of Engineering. I'm appointed at the Faculty of Engineering. And I learned that when I'm now the head of the chemistry department, but I cannot get into higher rank of positions if I'm not an engineer. And I wanted to open up a chemical engineering department, and they told me, no, you are a chemist. You cannot open up an engineering department. So what I did is, okay, you guys don't think I'm good enough? I will prove you. Okay, so I'm now, again, a PhD student at the Technical University of Munich, doing a second PhD in engineering. I started last year, and I hope that by next year, or maybe 2 years, because of Corona, we had so many delays and many experiments and so on. So maybe in 2 years' time from now, I will have my second PhD. And but what challenges did I face? Well, there are lots of challenges, of course, related to having a little kid. I needed some people around me, a community that supports this giving birth and doing at the same time a PhD. And I was in Germany all alone, just with my husband and my daughter. And it's not like in our countries here in Africa, where you have your mother, your sister, whoever is around you who can help out. So I was all alone there, and I had actually a salary as a PhD student equivalent to 760 euros, okay, at that time. And the babysitter cost 855. So can you imagine that me as a PhD student, I didn't even have the money to support the care of my child. But again, my husband could at that time help out and give me some of his salary. He already had a PhD and was working as a researcher. He's a professor of physics. He was generous enough to give me this money to pursue the PhD at that time. And then you have again the challenge that I had. I woke up every morning at 5 a.m. doing the home things like cooking, everything that is related to the household, and then preparing my child for the babysitter, and then bringing her to the babysitter, and then going to university, spending the whole day. And usually my husband would pick up my daughter from the babysitter, and coming back home, preparing again dinner, and so on and so forth. So it was really, really a very tough time. Definitely, it's challenging for anybody, and especially for women if they have a family and children. And of course, the scientific part, I would not say that it's challenging. It is, if you like what you're doing, then the subject is not, it's not bad. It's not difficult. I don't believe that there are some differences between men and women if they are pursuing the same PhD. I mean, I didn't face that. The challenges I really faced was with my family and my little daughter in particular. And the weekends, I was preparing for the whole week to have an easier life. So I was like cooking things and I had a very big deep freezer, so I could put everything there, and then I was taking out, every day, then, and was putting it in the microwave and so on. So I was, I had so many tasks at the same time. It was just like, you had to have these a structured mindset so that you do everything you needed to have a somehow easy life. So, and we could only have vacation maybe twice a year, and most of the time we were coming to Egypt to visit our families. So it was a tough time. This was on the personal or the private challenges we faced. On the professional challenges, of course, coming from Africa, you needed to prove yourself to the German community, to a foreign community, that you are not less intelligent, you are not less productive. So you had to prove yourself very much. And I worked at least twice as hard as everybody else to prove myself, because everybody was doubting, is this really true? So I had to prove and prove. And the chemistry part is just, it's an experiment. So you had to redo things so that you can show them, no, it is reproducible. It is right what you're doing. I even, outsourced my results to Spain, just to get the same results and show and prove my professor, you see, the results I get here, exactly we got from Spain. So, just to prove that I was right, So it was challenging somehow, but the moment, and I can tell you, the moment I got my PhD, I was just as equivalent as everybody else in Germany. And this DR before this name makes you just, feel it, everybody is respecting you because you have it. You could make it exactly as everybody else in this community, So I can only say positive things. It is challenging, it is hard, but in the end, you can be proud of yourself that you could make it. And as you can see, after so many years, I got my first PhD 2004, and I hope that by 2024, I have my second PhD. I hope this answers your question.
Great. And I think his last question was, will you be open up to mentor him? So that's the last question. Ghada, are you there?
Good. Are you able to hear? I think, can you hear Prosper?
No.
No? Prosper, try again, maybe?
Yes, so Ghada, the last question Lawal wanted to ask is if you're open for mentoring, because you mentioned that.
I'm open for mentoring, you said?
Yeah. Yes, he's asking
Oh,
if
of
you're
course, of
open for
course.
mentoring.
Yeah. I'm actually on many communities for mentorship, and I'm of course willing to mentor anybody here in this academy if you wish. I can drop my email, or maybe you can get it from Arun, my email address, and then we can have some online meetings if you like. Of course, I'm
Great.
very open. Yeah.
Great. All right, Elvis, you're next. Ask your question.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
So thank you, Ghada, for the potent message to us. It was timely. My question is, at first you mentioned that you completed your first PhD and you came back to your home country, psyched up to make a change, but you are told that that is not applicable. So now, what can you advise me if I want to take a postgraduate degree? Should I go first to the market and see a niche or where that subject will be useful, or I just dive in and things will align themselves in the future?
Well, I was not mentored at that time, and that's why I did not have the opportunity to discuss this previously. But definitely, if somebody would have told me from the beginning, don't go for organometallics because it's not useful to the Egyptian community, I would have listened. Because now I'm working at the Science and Technology Development Fund, as I told you, and I can see where the funding of the Egyptian government goes. So there are some basic funds go to fundamental science for sure, but the main funds go to applied sciences. So maybe if I knew that beforehand, I would have done this. And now that's why I'm doing my second PhD in exactly the things the government needs. Because if you really want to come back, then you need to just see how you can get funds to apply what you have learned. If you are just coming with knowledge that is not applicable to your country, it's a pity. It's a lost knowledge. Of course it is enriching you as a person, that you have gone through the journey and you have learned so many things, but in the end you want to have something that is useful to your country, to develop the infrastructure and so on. So now we in Africa, we need some specifics to get onto the same level as everybody else in the globe. So maybe you should look at some applications or where the funds go from your government. But at the same time, what I also do is connect. If you like fundamentals, you can still use some parts of your applied, like the funds you have applied for, into something that is fundamental, that is close to your heart, and you would like to explore more. So, for example, I'm doing now computational chemistry to things that I have studied in the lab as as experimental chemistry. I just want to have these fundamentals as a model so that people can use it later on. Things like that. So you can combine applications into fundamentals, or vice versa.
Great. Elvis, I hope your question has been answered.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. So I'll just take this question from the chat box. Ghada, this is to you. Would you advise people to come to Germany to further their studies?
Germany is a very nice country. I consider it as my second home. So I will be biased. But the thing is that if you speak the language, you can mingle very easily with people. And people there, maybe they look you would perceive them as a little bit stiff or not flexible or whatever. But in the end, no, if they open up, they are very warm-hearted. If they trust you, then this trust will be forever unless you do something that is really bad, you know. So the friendship with Germans is very deep. Okay, so once you have gained some friends, the life there is really pleasant. This is from a private or for social point of view. From the scientific point of view, of course, they have very good schools, very good teachers. They would be. They have Nobel laureates, a lot of Nobel laureates, especially in science and engineering. Of course, I would encourage you to go. But learn the language first so that you can mingle, not to be isolated, because isolated people have a very tough time there. But if you speak the language, if you are willing to learn, they are, you know, with our sense of humor as Africans, we are warm-hearted. We can do lots of things together with others, you know, so we are very flexible. And if you are warm enough to people, then definitely this love comes back. So... yes, and of course, in Germany, you don't have to pay tuition fees. Tuition fees is there per semester about 150 euros only. So this is very cheap education as well, you know, good and cheap education.
Great, thank you. I think Emmanuel's next question would be how long it would take to learn the language. For me, I think it would be depending on how fast you learn as a beginner or intermediary. So maybe that's my answer to him. I don't know what you add.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes, yeah. Of course, I agree. Yeah.
Right. So we have wonderful questions coming from our women. We have one from Rufia Adeshina. She's asking, can you mentor someone with an engineering background looking to go for a postgraduate study? I think if she can add more to it, would you be able to do that?
Yes, of course. I have lots of engineering students already. I have 18 from the Faculty of Engineering I'm mentoring. I have master's students and PhD students who are doing engineering postgrads, but under my supervision. So because they have this chemistry aspect as well.
Okay, so awesome. Awesome. Whilst we're still waiting for more questions, I would ask really quick, what role do you think non-tech or soft skills played in your technical background as a chemist, a professor?
Sorry, say it again, please.
Yeah, what role did soft skills or a non-tech related skill played in your technical background, and how relevant is it to you?
Yeah. Well, I think the most important soft skill you have to have is be open and flexible. I think this is the most important thing. If you are open and you are not shy and you can talk to people without being hesitant or having the feeling that you are maybe doing some mistakes while speaking, just speak out, you know, speak out and be yourself. Be confident and smile. I think this is a most important soft skill. And by time, you will become the best presenter, the best speaker, whatever, you know, because you will become so confident in the way you speak to people that you don't need to fear anything, you know. So I think this is the most important soft skill. Smile and be confident while speaking to people. Open and flexible.
Great. I took this note. Be open and flexible on soft skills.
Yeah.
All right. So this one is also coming from one of our young women. She's Wanjui from Kenya. Okay. She's asking, given all you know now, what would you do differently from when you finish your undergraduate and in your career path and in general life? Given all you know now, what will you do differently when you finish your undergraduate?
As I said, maybe the only thing I would have done differently is to get a mentor, because I had never had a mentor in my whole life. And maybe this was a big mistake, because I could have learned so much and it would have made my life easier. Nowadays, with the online tools, everything is so easy and so possible. And I believe that something like the 10 Academy, it's a great opportunity to learn from each other, you know. And but I'm actually quite happy with what I have already reached in terms of networking, but maybe I could have started a little bit earlier as well. So now being now here in the 10 Academy, this gives you opportunity to mingle and to interact and to network with people from different countries. I had only this opportunity later on. You know, maybe if I knew that having these good networks is so important in your life, I would have definitely started earlier. Because you know, there's some Nobel laureate told me, build your networks before you need them. You know, so you have now this network. You are all becoming friends. You know each other. You talk to each other. In 10 years' time, every one of you is going to have a very high position in his own field. And then you can interact, you can be useful to each other, you can help each other to grow even more, you know. And being part, for example, of the Global Young Academy taught me a lot about this. So we in the Global Young Academy were 200 scientists from all over the world, and I'm interacting with people in Canada, in Holland, in whatever. And I have now students going and doing their PhD there as co-supervisors. So, and I'm quite sure, and of course the next Einstein Forum as well, made me interact with lots of African scientists. I had never had the opportunity before to see the potential our beloved continent has before coming into this next Einstein Forum. And I'm interacting with them. We are having conferences together. We have students together. We have workshops together. Wonderful, you know? So that's why I really hope that that you make use of your networks, even strengthen your networks more and more. Try to get involved in other things that are also nice to you, like giving you kind of not necessarily a hobby, but give you the feeling that you're doing something like social engagement for your country, for your continent, like women in science working groups, for example, or networks like the next Einstein Forum or so on. So please do this. And this is the only thing I would have started earlier, and having a mentor. And thank you for your question. This is a very nice question.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So this comes to line with if you were back in school.
Prosper, I just wanted to interrupt and ask a follow-up question. You talked about networking, Ghada, and I think I think sometimes maybe at this stage of many of our people on the course, there's this worry about competition versus collaboration. And in networking or in sharing, there's still this aspect of everyone's looking for their first job and people are competing for scarce resources. What is your view on building the network while at the same time there is a natural aspect of competition that's built in?
This is a very nice question, and I can be very open in this aspect. There was, from my own experience, I would like to share something. 2 years ago at the Technical University of Munich, they wanted to hire a professor. Because my former professor of the construction materials was going to be retired. So what happened is that I applied, and I was encouraged to apply, and I was the only woman who was applying. So everybody was telling me, I'm definitely going to get this job, okay? So, and so many others were applying. And of course, among them were 2 of my colleagues, former colleagues at the time of my postdoc. So actually I approached them and told them, I wish you all the luck. I don't think that we are, if I'm entitled to get this job, I will definitely like to collaborate with you. And if you are taking this job, I hope you would collaborate with me. And, you know, we had this very nice feeling toward each other. So none of us got the job in the end, but because we did not, so just a totally different guy from industry who got the job. But in the end, can you imagine if we were just like competing and we were just like, trying to break each other's morals and so on, we would have hated each other now, right? But in the end, now we are still collaborating, everybody in his own field, in his own country, and having no hatred feelings toward each other because of this position. So I believe that you need to always have the spirit of collaboration, even though if you are competing with each other, because in the end, even if one of you wins, and he would see the collaborative attitude the other one has, it will definitely enrich both to collaborate further in the end.
Great. This is very, very solid. This is very solid. I think your experience is very practical, and I hope our learners picked it up and then ensure to emulate it in their next set of field, wherever they find themselves. So I'll go on with the next set of questions. Would you like to share some nuggets about being productive, while having to juggle so much at once?
Being productive while what? Sorry?
While having to juggle so much at once, doing so much at once, looking at your work. Yeah.
Well, focused, of course. Yeah, you have to focus on your path. Don't never get detracted or what. But the thing is that when my hobby is to do something else. I cannot do only one time. I get bored. So if I always do just research, I will get bored. I need to do something that is balancing my life. So what is balancing my life? This networking, for example, to go for a conference and meet other people, to do this Women in Science working group, for example, to do things that can help out the community. Sometimes I just engage in the school of my daughter. I can even share with you, once I was during one of my guest professorships in Germany in 2015, I just decided to go back to my school in which I was in grade 1 in Germany when I first started, and just to give there an experimental lecture, just out of the blue. I just called up the director of the school and said, well, I was in this school 35 years ago, and I would like to share my experience. Do you mind? And so I went there to the school kids and told them, well, this is me. And 35 years ago, I was just sitting on your chair. And now look at me, and you can do it, And these kind of things are, giving me this balance. So I'm trying to balance out my life. At the same time, this enriches me as a person. And at the same time, I'm trying to focus on my research, and it gives me energy to do more of my research and to be productive.
Right. It's more about creating that great balance between work and networking. So how much time do you have, if we can ask some more questions?
Yeah, you can just keep on if this is okay. I don't know.
Okay, so let's take a few questions, then we can wrap it up. So Emmanuel is asking again, if you had to choose between learning and networking, which would you choose? So let's answer that question first, and then maybe the second one will follow. Which is more important if you had to make a choice?
Well, if you are only networking without having the necessary knowledge to be among these people you are networking with, then soon they will not respect you. You have to be on a certain knowledge level to be able to talk to these people and to share views and be respectable. Most of the times when I do this networking, I just go and present my research first, in one of these conferences, for example, you know, I present my research so that people know whom they are speaking to, and then out of discussions and so on, you would have friendship coming out, and because you always meet the same people, because the conferences, you know, the world is so small, and being a global citizen now, you always meet the same people, you know, and by the time, like in 5 years' time, you will find out that you have so many different friends from many, many countries all over the world. So I would never choose between learning and networking. I think these are complementary.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree with you. So my question to this answer would be, would you say that it's a good thing to always show off what you do first when you're introducing yourself to the other person? Like in your case, you were at a conference, so you had to present your work. How about you start off with just a random conversation before you let the person know what you're into? What would you say about that?
How am I introducing myself as a person, you mean?
Yeah, what would you say about that? Introducing yourself first before telling them what you do. Like in your case, you just go and present your work if it were to be at a conference before you even start telling them this is who you are. What would you say about that?
I'm not sure I get your question, because when you stand up there and you most of the time you get introduced, and then so people know who you are from your titles and so on. But I always say I'm a mother of 2 kids, and so people get the different perspective as well. And if I start a conversation before showing my work, I always say I'm from Egypt. What about you? You know, this is me. I like to point out my country first. Although I've been in so many different countries, but I like to show that I'm the Egyptian here. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah. So this is how I introduce myself. I'm Egyptian.
Great, great. All right. So the last 2 questions. Lawal is asking, what advice would you give a new PhD student?
You have to, for a new PhD student, the first thing to do is to take as much as possible from your colleagues, to take, I mean, knowledge, to listen, to learn from their experience, and not to be arrogant, and not to be some are arrogant, or some are afraid to ask questions. Both these are not very good characteristics. You know, a new PhD student has to be polite to his colleagues and ask any question that comes to his mind, not being afraid that they would say, "Where do you come from?" or "This is something you should know." Well, this has happened to me. If you allow me to share, I had one of these German colleagues. I came in, I was the Egyptian coming in with the kid, and you know, for him it was just like, who's this girl? I was 25 years old or 24 years old, very young, and yeah, you should. And the guy was telling me, "Oh, you'd better go back and go cook or whatever." Yeah, it was very rude actually. And I was just laughing. I said, "Okay, Andreas, yeah, I'm going to show you what I can do," you know. And I started to laugh. But then I went to another colleague of mine. She was female as well, and she was telling me, you know, he's always like this. He's not like only to you like this, but he's always like this. You know, he's trying to any new PhD. He's not taking into like respecting very much. So she told me, you know what? You are going to do something he was unable to do. I told her, what is that? You know, I got excited, and she told me about a chemical compound he was unable to synthesize. I told her, oh yes, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to challenge this guy, and so on. So I challenged him, and I could synthesize this compound, this very sophisticated chemical complex, and I showed it to my professor. And this guy was saying, no, you were not able to do this. Who helped you? Who helped you? No, it was very funny. But in that moment, he saw that if he just gave me the chance and listened to my question, I could do anything, you know? And every one of you can do anything. The only thing you need to do is to listen, to learn from the experiences, and don't be afraid. You are able to do anything you like, you know? You can learn, you can take up from your colleagues, you take up from your professor, go and ask questions, go and ask even other team leads and so on, you know? Don't be afraid. This is my very first advice. Don't be arrogant and don't be afraid, okay? The second advice to a PhD student is try to do things others are doing. Like, don't isolate yourself. We always had, for example, seminars on Fridays. I was always going with them, okay? I was always part of the group. I never isolated myself. Okay, this is not nice to be isolated. Okay, so I always try to be part of the group. And we even had some social activities. One of my colleagues started to do jogging in the morning on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 a.m. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to even wake up earlier than that so that I can join the joggers. And I was jogging with them Tuesdays and Thursdays, you know. So I became part of the group and they accepted me as part of the group. So this is my second advice, because once you are into the group, then you have this team spirit. You can do lots of things together and you have this backbone, you know. It's kind of a good feeling to have people surrounding you. And even if you are in your worst situations where you cannot be productive, or if the lab is not giving you the results you wanted, you know, you have someone to share with you and to tell you, don't feel down. Tomorrow it will be a better day, you know. So I think these two advice are very important.
Great, great. I think just being cultural intelligent is one key thing that we all need to learn wherever we find ourselves. So we'll take the last two questions and then we'll wrap up. So Gerard is asking, with the advent of online learning and short courses, do you think it's okay to pursue a first degree and then focus on the short specialized courses and projects? What's your take on that?
Yes, I definitely agree. So first, you were saying that if I get you right, you just need to learn a major course and then you take online courses. Is this the question?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
So
Do you think it's okay to pursue a first degree and then
your
focus on
first degree? Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Take the degree first, and then, you know, online courses can enrich you, can enrich your character, your soft skills, your networking skills. But the first degree is very important. Take it first, because you know, the older you get, the more difficult it will get to learn new things. So in your younger ages, you take your major courses, and then later on you can learn other things.
Great, thank you. So Kevin is asking, you mentioned Nobel laureate. All laureates have done spectacular work. Which work stood out for you personally and why, from the ones you have met?
You know, the one that really was in my mind, and I was really looking up to this guy. But yeah, I don't remember the name. But he was a chemist. But then, when he was 85 years of age, his sight became so blurry he couldn't read, and for a Nobel laureate not to be able to read was very difficult. And he gave us a lecture that he invented a tool in this age, in the age of 85, that could change the side. So it was blurry. So I think it was all italic what he was reading, you know. And with this kind of glasses he invented, he could, you know, change the direction of the book letters into the correct direction so that we would be able to read. Can you imagine? So in this, so that gave me a very solid and good message saying that, never stop being productive, never stop believing in yourself, never stop. Even if you had a Nobel Prize 50 years ago, if you need something new, you just invent it, you just do it, okay? This was very impressive to me. So he was not lecturing about his Nobel Prize, but he was lecturing about something he did 30 years later, which was really impressive to me.
Great, great. So you heard it, Rahel. Go ahead. If you would like to unmute your microphone, please do. If not, you can just drop it in the chat box.
Hello. Hi everyone, how are you?
Can hear you.
So, okay, it was a really nice speech, and my question is on the women science groups. And yeah, most of these groups, I think most of these groups are focusing on women who are already on the science world. I mean, it's very good. It gives opportunity for these girls to grow and to have better opportunities. But at the same time, I think it's required that more women get into science. So what do you think should be done in order to push other girls who are not already in the science world to get into science and to have more women on science? What do you think should be done, or if there are things you are doing, what are they?
The things that I've been doing during my time in Germany, and I continued later on doing this, is kind of children's university. I was part of it, and we were opening the doors of the university to school kids to come and join in open days, for example, or we even had this particular for girls, calling Girls' Day, or we called it Mädchen machen Technik, means that girls are technically involved, So they had this brand, and people could apply. So girls could apply in the summer break to come and join the university in a course, a workshop for 3-4 days to do, for example, like soap. We did soap together in the lab, and we did some flummies, these kind of balls that you can play with together. We did even ice cream together. We did something called Wonderland of Chemistry, so we could put things together and they could see the colors of chemicals and so on. So we could encourage little girls to join the Faculty of Chemistry with these kind of activities. I believe we should focus more on these kind of activities. Now being back to Egypt, we have this Children's University initiative here as well, and I'm also part of it, and we go and teach school children. And I just mentioned a few minutes ago about my experience going back to my own school 35 years later and do kind of an experimental show in class. So maybe you can also do something like this. You go back to your own schools and do this to your own community. Ask the school director if you could do something like that. Make an experimental show, something that captures children's attention, something that is not too dangerous but would be very fascinating for the children. And by that, you can also contribute in your community to having more scientists and engineers in your country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing us to the end of today's session. I picked so much, and I'm hoping that my friends on the line, my colleagues, and my learners have also picked a few of them. I'll just highlight some of the things that stood out for me as we wrap up. So one, you said main funds actually goes into applied sciences. So even as our learners are learning to become data scientists, whatever skills they have, it should be applied in their field of study and all. The other one which struck me so much is be open and flexible when it comes to soft skills. The last one is you should build your network before you need them. So on this note, would like to say a big thank you to you for taking time off your heavy schedule to join us to share nuggets and share your journey with us. We hope this has been very helpful to all of us. And Arun has already shared your email with us. We'll get in touch if we need any career support and mentoring, as we hope some of our learners will need. On this note, I'd like to say thank you once again, and I quickly hand over to Arun for his last word.
No, nothing else to add. Thank you, Ghada. Thank you for your time. You mentioned how many things you're doing, and I hope the hour that you spent with us will be multiplied through the impact and the encouragement and this belief that you've, I hope, inspired and everyone who's here through your own example. So thank you. We hope to, I don't know. Thank you. Nothing else to say.
Great.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. And do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.